Welcome back to the Kira and Mal Podcast, where my fiance is trying a gamer. Those new here, I'm Kira, the newbie to the gaming multiverse.
And I am Mal'Ganis, the overseasoned, overcooked veteran. So, War Thunder Air Arcade.
Yes.
And the solid level grind has just kicked off for me 3 days ago, which I'm not as motivated as I should be for. Power World's loads of fun.
I've yet to play, so I can't.
We'll talk about it. We'll get there. So, and then, so before we jump into the meat of today's episode, if you guys are enjoying the content, please hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a comment about your favorite games that you would like us to try. So, we're not a fan of the biplane. Is that what I understand?
It's slow.
Oh, yeah, we haven't invented jet engines yet.
And it doesn't help. I'm flying against all these people, and they can just zoom past me like it's nothing. Like I can't catch them in a chase. I can't outrun them. I can't really outmaneuver them either. So
what I'm hearing is you like speed.
yes, considering I studied hypersonics.
Well, let's give it some time. Maybe play a little bit more. Maybe not right now. I know things are stressful, so we might try and find. I think I've got something in the library that is pretty relaxing to play. Either that, or I'll get you into Minecraft.
We'll see. I may go back to playing WoW for a little bit, even though it's not my favorite.
So you can play Season of Discovery. It's a lot slower.
Yeah, which might be what I need right now. Yeah, like I really like War Thunder. I really enjoy playing it. The hard part that I noticed is like with this week, particularly in the video we released on Saturday. Like if people watch it, they can see that it's like I can't decide which direction to turn in.
It's like an executive dysfunction kind of thing.
Yeah, and part of it is just um I have a lot of just going on in life right now. I have a relative that's in the hospital that's not doing too well, and so like that's on my mind. So then trying to play a video game and make content, too busy thinking about personal things to be trying to make decisions on which way should I go, which plane should I attack. It was like just too much. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I get that. That's kind of my fear with you going back to play, either SOD or just World of Warcraft retail or just WoW Classic or even Wrath Classic is there's still a little bit of decision making. It's relatively straightforward, but there is a little bit, and I kind of feel like you would rather play something there's no decision making. It's just like repeat repetitive task until task complete or brain has been itched enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, part of it is I'm just wondering if I would be like too bored with being told like exactly what to do.
Mm, I don't know. Power World would be pretty good because it's kind of middle of the road. It's kind of like it gives you like a tutorial direction, but it's also like you figure out how to make it happen. Does that make sense?
Part of me feels like that might be too much freedom, like, and which I haven't played it yet, so I could be wrong. But I feel like with WoW, at least what I've experienced is they at least like go here and fight this thing, or go here and collect this item. So there's
And that's kind of how Power World is, at least in the beginning. I'm not super deep into it yet. I haven't completed the first tower boss, but it's yeah, I don't know. WoW might be the spot for you. That might make you feel a little bit better. You know what I mean?
yeah. I don't know. I guess part of it is like I know people like go and play video games like when they're upset or stressed or whatever. Like for me, like that's not my instinct to go and do it. like I'm having to like force myself, so I feel like that's also not helping. Of just like I feel like the only times I played video games this week has been to make content,
Right.
and at least like the past few weeks, I would even just kind of come in here on my own and just kind of play around a little bit. I may not like do anything or like do any battles or something, but I might like come in and just like kind of walk around and WoW
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of feel things out and get used to navigating. Same with like World of Warcraft, like no, War Thunder.
Too many W's.
I was about to say the same
Too
thing. Too many
many
W's.
W's.
But with War Thunder, like I was kind of like at the beginning of the week, I was looking forward to just kind of like practice flying around and maneuvering, and then like life hit, and
Yeah, I feel that.
so for me, it's like I'm very intrigued at the fact that like there are people who like turn to video games when they're stressed. Because for me, it's like the last thing I want to do.
For me, it's um there's types of games that I play when I'm stressed. I typically will play WoW because it's like my blankie. Does that make sense? Because I've been playing for so long, you know. It's like my comfort blanket. But then, like, what's weird is in my old job, I used to feel like I was always stressed, and I was stressed, but I was mainlining Tarkov. But I think I was depressed more than anything else, and being good at Tarkov made me feel better about being depressed. Does that make sense? Or it
Mm-hmm.
was almost like cathartic, like I'm having a bad day, and that guy over there is having a bad day because I made his day worse, and that makes me feel better. You know what I mean? Or it's just like I won the fight, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I definitely get that. I get that feeling. And that's a tough feeling to manage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess for me, it's like I don't feel like I operate that same way. Like actually, kind of going back to the conversation we had before we even started this. Part of it is like when I'm stressed out, my biggest thing is I'm an extrovert. I don't like being alone. Like I like being surrounded by people, even if it's not necessarily people that I'm interacting with.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about like shopping and stuff like that, and I think part of the reason like for me like shopping is kind of a coping mechanism when things go down
Yeah.
is like
Yeah, I
I can
get
go to
that.
the mall and I'm surrounded by people and I'm not alone.
Yeah, we are the definition of opposites attract because I'm like, everybody get away from me. Leave me alone.
Yeah, no. I mean, this week work has been like, do you need to go home? Like, what do you need to do? And I'm kind of like, can I just work and be at work because I would much rather be with my coworkers, be at home, bed by myself.
Yeah, you want the normality
Yeah,
is what you
I
want. You
crave normalcy and routine when everything is falling apart.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. I understand that feeling a lot. Um I hate and I've been feeling lately this intense feeling of anxiety because change is coming, or it may not come, but it may come, and that change in my pattern is extremely stressful for me. You know what I mean? Because I can't see past a certain thing because I don't know what's out there, you know?
And see, and that's like a weird part for me. I love change in a weird way, but like I don't want change going on while like there's something stressful and negative going on.
Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head for me because right now things are stressful and there's a lot of negatives going on, and this change is just not at the right time for me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see that.
You know, that's kind of how it feels, but it's one of those things. It's like things never happen when you want them to happen. They just happen when they happen.
Oh yeah.
And it sucks that it's that way sometimes.
I mean, look at when we got engaged and
Oh my God, that was so. I was like, you definitely want to get on this plane.
So we haven't really talked about this on the podcast. Like we kind of like set things around it, but I had a car accident before we had a trip planned. Ended up with a pretty good concussion.
Pretty good is an understatement.
I was out of work for like 2 full weeks, and then
Did not know where she was.
I was completely out of work for 2 weeks. Worked part time for what, like another 2 weeks.
Something like that, yeah.
um, we had this whole trip planned.
Months in advance, by the way.
Yeah, months in advance before this even um was on our radar. We were like I started feeling better from the concussion. I was like, okay, we're still gonna go on the trip. And then the day we're set to fly out, I started getting nauseous and lightheaded and felt like I was gonna pass out.
Decided it was a good idea to go to work.
I have been working from home for a few days. I've been feeling great. I was just like, we'll go to work. Go back to the office only for like the morning, few hours, 2-3 hours. I'll be at work. It'll be fine. It wasn't fine.
Yeah, so we were sitting in the what was it? The urgent care. What? We sat in the. We left urgent care an hour before takeoff.
No, I think it was 2 hours before.
Yeah. Well, we left the urgent care, but we didn't go to the airport because we had to stop and get fries.
No. I think I sent you to get food.
You sent me to go get food
while I was on the urgent care because I was starving. Finally, the nausea kind of let up.
Yep.
But no, we left urgent care at like 4:30. Our flight leaves at 7.
Yeah.
We had to go to CVS to get medication.
That's right. It was, we had to get the medication.
And then we still had to come back home and grab our bags.
Yeah.
I'm following him around like a lost puppy. I have no idea where I'm at.
I'm concerned that when we're going through security that I'm going to get arrested for attempted human trafficking because it looks like I've drugged her. You know, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm this, it was a magic bullet moment because she can see into the future and it's like, I can't hide anything from her. This is, and not that the concussion was the magic bullet, but she was fully believed that I wasn't going to propose while we were on our trip.
It was, because I had joked around that he should propose on this trip, and he had me fully convinced that like wasn't gonna happen, and then the concussion happened, so I just couldn't even think about what was going on. So completely blindsided and did not see it coming when he did propose.
Yeah, no, it was like it just everything that could go wrong was going wrong, but I was like, we just have to get on the ground.
Yeah, it was very interesting though, because like it played to your benefit into the fact that I didn't see it coming and had no idea it was coming and couldn't even think about it. But I do feel like the downside of it is I don't feel like I had the correct reaction.
Yeah, no, you definitely didn't. I was expecting like tears, but granted, I couldn't get the spot that I wanted. I wanted to get under one of the rocket engines, but there were just so many people there.
There was so many people. There was a lot of kids that were very loud, and it didn't help. So like I kind of understand why it was there. Kind of don't understand. I can see it both ways. But where they had like that whole race car section.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
that was so loud, and I love race cars. Like absolutely loved them, but I couldn't enjoy it because it was just so loud that I just wanted out of there. And so it was, and like loud noises were very like disorienting, like to the point like it would kind of make the room spin a little bit. Yeah, no, like I was excited, but I definitely like it was like one of those things of I had to just like put so much effort into just being present that like there was no energy left over for excitement or emotion.
Yeah, and I was like getting in there, I was concerned because we got there before it was the Aerospace Museum even opened.
No,
Or right when visitation started,
so
or
right now they're under construction, so they have time entries every hour, and
oh
you have to
yeah,
have a
we were
ticket.
there for like our block.
And which we'd actually pushed it back because I didn't feel good that morning. We were supposed to be there for the very first time entry, and by the time I finally like could get going, there's no way we were gonna make it on time. And luckily enough, they still had a couple of slots for the next hour. And then like every hour, it's like there's a line forming outside, even though they tell you not to get there early.
Massive line.
Massive. And we were still standing out. We're in that line for like 2 days, so
Yeah. So it was stressful for me. I was stress eating in the cafeteria.
and it made so much more sense afterwards because you kept just being like, "Are you okay?" Like you would not leave me alone.
And I'm like a naturally anxious person, so I'm always going to be like, "Hey, are you okay? Are you okay?" I need to know that you're okay so that I can be okay. It's like me asking myself if I'm okay is by checking on whether or not you're okay.
But no, it was very disappointing because like I was disappointed in the fact that like that was my first time at the museum and getting to see it, and I couldn't be excited because if I put the energy into being excited, I wouldn't be able to focus on anything and actually like take anything in.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I was having to put all my energy into actually like looking at things and paying attention to what's going on and couldn't really show any excitement. And I definitely felt like that impacted you because you were just like, I feel like you were just like,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. No, I was in like anxiety breakdown mode. I was like, oh my God, this is a disaster. She's going to fall apart and then I'm going to fall apart and everything's going to be shot to shit. So,
But yeah, one of those of like everything that can go wrong will go wrong. It did work out in the end. Um, Definitely would like to go back and re-experience some things without a concussion.
it would be nice to walk the mall again and like go visit the Lincoln Memorial.
So the Lincoln Memorial, I really want to go see it. I don't know if I ever told you this, but like you know how they have like all the writing on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I could read maybe the first 5 words before I'd have to stop.
Yeah, I remember you were telling me about that. And then those kids that were there that were just being so obnoxious. Yeah.
Were insane, and then the echo in there, even though there's a million signs telling you quiet, they were so loud and it would echo, and that again, like loud noises like that were just so disorienting for me that like I felt dizzy while being there.
Yeah, it was nice, but it was tough at the same time. Does that make sense? You know. So, but it was a good experience, and we really enjoyed Georgetown. But yeah, it was like the whole that whole afternoon. I was like, you want to get on this plane? And then like we get to the airport, finally get her through security, get her to the gate. I sit her down. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be back. I went and had a beer, get on the plane, get off the plane, get into the Uber, get her to the hotel. I go down to the hotel bar, have like 3 Moscow mules, come back up, go to bed, get up, get her to the damn
And then
museum
like
the next
every
day.
hour you're coming and like waking me up.
Oh yeah, because if for those who don't know, if your friend has a concussion, don't let them go to sleep.
Actually, there's been some new research on that, and
Oh, there has.
Yeah.
Have they changed the directive? Because it used to be, it was like because I remember when I was a wrestler, like if you had a concussion, they were like, you're not allowed to sleep for the next 3 days.
Some of that's changed. Also, at that point, I was like past the point because I mean, at this, like, we were what 2 weeks after? We were 3 weeks out from the accident of the initial concussion.
I think it was about 3 weeks. And I knew that night I was sitting in this chair at this desk, and like you hadn't texted, you hadn't called, and then I was like, it's getting late, sunset. I was like, something's wrong. Something is wrong. She's been in a car accident. And then you called me and I was like, yep, I knew it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was just, it was an experience.
The fragility of life.
That was, it was a lot because it was a head-on collision. At least for me, it was a head-on collision.
And for the record, it was not her fault.
It was not my fault. um, but yeah, it was like I saw the other car in my lane and just knew.
Yep.
And I think that's what was like the scariest part is just like knowing you're about to be in a head-on collision.
Yep. Yeah, I've never been in a situation like that where the disaster was not able to be averted, but I've been in situations like that. Like one that really comes to memory is I almost got ran over by a striker at the National Training Center. We had set up this little like ECP. We were out there. We like assaulted this village, took it over, set up an ECP. I think I was running the radio. And my buddy was up in the turret, Tharp, and he was like, dude, I think there's something coming towards us. They didn't have their IRs on, no white light, no nothing. We could just see them through MVGs. And like we had sea wire out in the road. We'd built a little snake pattern, just because that's kind of what you would do for just like a hasty. And so like I run out, I'm like running down the road at them to get ahead of the sea wire so they don't run their strikers into the sea wire because it would have just completely wrecked the first one. And I'm like flashing with IR, I'm waving at him, trying to get the driver's attention. And finally he lays on the brakes right before he hits me. And I'm like, hey man, I got sea wire on the road. Let me get out of the road and we'll get you guys through. He was like, oh man, I didn't see you till like I was almost on top of you. I was like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, that was, I don't know if you remember, or which it was dark, so I don't really know what the road was. But for me, like with my car accident, there was nowhere I could go if I would have.
No. The only way that could have been averted was one, if you had been 30 seconds slower at the light or 30 seconds fast. No, up the road.
Oh.
Like whatever half mile up the road. Like if that light had held you 30 seconds or let you through 30 seconds faster, or if the accident had been like 30 meters in further the direction you came from, so you could have maybe made it into like the gas station parking lot.
Yeah. But yeah, because where I was at, there was like a pretty like steep ditch that like, and that was actually like another car, not even a mile up the road.
Oh yeah, no,
actually like went into that ditch and it like flipped their car basically.
On the way to get her, I saw blue lights, pulled over on the side of the road, looked at the car, looked at the cop, and I was like, that's not my girlfriend. So I was like, oh, pull around this, kept going. I was like, there's the other accident. There were two within like a quarter mile of each other.
I mean, no, that was like how that initially stopped was just like, I'm on my way to another accident. He like got us like cleared. Ambulance and fire department then pulled up behind him, got us off the road. I got checked out by the EMS, and then they left and went on up, and we were like waiting for a cop to come back and take our statement. That they said it was just like there was like a crazy amount of accidents that night.
I think that was a full moon night too, which is weird because typically you have better visibility on a full moon night. Like, it might have been. I can't remember.
I remember being dark.
I still can't believe they totaled your car. The poor CRV. The poor CRV.
It was a lot, but yeah, it was. Still, things have worked out for the most part.
Everything's been downhill since then. No, things have been good and things have been positive, but there have been that kind of kick-started the like. Have you ever heard me talk about the 90-day rotation?
Yeah.
It's like every 90 days there's a new catastrophe or a new, like, and this is just in my personal life where I'm in proximity to a catastrophe of some kind.
Well, and there's things that happened, it wasn't like necessarily catastrophes, but just because then like we Thanksgiving, Christmas,
Yep.
coming right after that.
And Christmas was not a vacation for us.
Never is. We were running around like.
How do you feel about a Friendsgiving and a Friendsmas this year?
I don't know. As chaotic as Christmas is, don't if I'm ready to give up the traditions we've had for Christmas the few years, especially me and my brother both getting married.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you just want to wait and kind of see what he does?
I'm kind of hoping they say something, so I don't. No, which we say this every year, but like this may be like our last Christmas as like the full family together, and because after this year we may have kids, my brother may have kids, and at that point like we're not going to be together like we have been in the past. It's going to look very different.
Yeah,
like we'll still get together, just not in capacity. And I think that's part of life changing. I don't know if I'm ready for the change to happen.
Right. Yeah,
and
I get that.
I want to feel things out. I'm also kind of worried that parts of your family may not allow us to.
My dad doesn't care, obviously, as you know, and after we're married, I'm gonna be like, "Bye, Mom. You were gone for 13 years. What do you want from me?"
I think part of it is it's really gonna depend where our grandparents are at.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like
you know, your mother's father's still alive, and your father's mother is still alive, right?
And my father's father.
Father's father's still alive.
Both granddads are still alive.
Okay, I've only got one surviving grandparent right now. Yeah.
I have 3 right now who have not been doing so great. We'll see.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's always a bummer, you know.
Yeah.
So,
no.
You want to... Sorry, what was that? Go ahead.
I was going to say we should probably
get
back to the video game content off of our personal life.
So on the content or the conversation of Season of Discovery starting on Thursday, it's been good. I have a love-hate relationship with the level grind just because I've done it so many times. I have so many alts. I've played through so many expansions. I just kind of I'm like, oh, is this again? But it's been refreshing with the runes. The problem that I have right now is I do have a time hack on it, which is frustrating because like I've got to make 40 by an arbitrary date set by my raid leader so that I can be ready for the Nomergon raid, and I'm just kind of like, So
are you? I guess I haven't been around as much this week to kind of talk to you about it, and so I guess first question I have, is it that you're not enjoying WoW as much, or is it that you're just like getting bored of it, or you're just tired of the rinse and repeat?
So there's a lot of things that break my stride when leveling in classic WoW. The primary thing that breaks my stride is the people. So like right now in leveling, I don't even accept quests that tell me to go kill a named NPC, because when I get there, there's going to be 50 people all fighting for the mob tag. So I'm like, it's not even worth my time to, let alone walk there to go find the guy, but to even accept the quest. So I have a bunch of unfinished quests in all these zones that I can't finish because whenever I go there to look for the mob tag, there's 50 people, most of which are hunters, and as a warlock, for those of you who do play warlocks in classic SOD, no, you don't have an instant shot that deals damage. So it's kind of like, it's just frustrating. So I'm like, I'll do my other quests, or I'll just go grind, an appropriately leveled mob somewhere on repeat and just listen to a podcast or listen to some music. And it just sucks because I was late to the wave on Thursday. I got started late, and then I was like, well, this isn't fun. So I went and played some War Thunder, played some Power World, and then played again today. I got some of my quests done, but it's like classic leveling isn't structured very well. For the first 20-25 levels, really solid, really clear path, follow these steps, do these things. But then after that, it's like, all right, go here, do this. And then you'll get to a point where, like, and I use this as an example, Red Ridge Mountains is the greatest leveling experience that World of Warcraft has ever produced, in my opinion, because on the left side of the map is level 10, level 15 quests. On the right side of the map is all the way up to level 30 quests. So you're always going to be coming back to Red Ridge Mountains during that leveling range, but it's also frustrating because if you walk too far east, you're just going to get absolutely stomped. So, but it's like, it's just frustrating that it's like, okay, I'm following this quest chain, this story, like you were running into, and what you were asking, like, well, why is this happening? Because of the story. I can't finish the story in that zone because I'm not a high enough level. So now I got to go to another zone, level a couple more levels, then I got to come back, and I've forgotten what the story is. I don't know what's going on. So it's just kind of frustrating right now. Like, I think one of our mages, I think he's playing his mage, he's maining his mage now. I think he's probably just now hit level 40, but he got ahead of the wave. He got ahead of everybody. So he didn't have as much competition. I'm on the back end of the wave this time, so it's a struggle for me to get ahead of people. But I still enjoy it. It's just, nose won't stop itching. It's just frustrating. That's it. I'm kind of frustrated right now. I'm frustrated with video games. I'm frustrated with Tarkov. I'm frustrated with War Thunder. Power World doesn't frustrate me, but Power World I feel like Power World peaks when you're playing with friends. Not in a PvP sense, but more like a PvE, like player versus environment, but like player plus friends versus the environment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's when games like that for me always shine, because that's how Conan Exiles was. Like don't get me wrong, PvP was a core element in Conan Exiles, but where Conan Exiles really shined for me, just because of how brutally difficult the environment was to survive in, shined when you did it with friends. But just in general, I'm frustrated with video games, and I keep having this like anxiety, depression, frustration, anger, like amalgamation in the back of my head that's just making everything miserable.
Do you think it's like stress from personal life? Just like the way video games headed?
A lot of it is the way video games are headed. Like we talked about, War Thunder's a gotcha game. You can literally just, if you had $1 million, you could buy everything in the game and not have to play the game. Well, what's the point in doing that if you're not going to play the game? Does that make sense? But all games are headed in that direction with a subscription service, either for its servers or to have premium benefits, or it's just headed in a direction that I'm not fond of. That's why I really applauded Tarkov for so long, and I have the EOD edition that you can't get anymore. I bought the Edge of Darkness because I believed in the project and really enjoyed the game. Once you've bought that, they're not going to sell you anything else. That's it. There's no subscription. There's no cosmetics. There's no buying guns or armor or ammos or equipment. It's, you bought the game, now play the game.
Yeah, I feel like more video games seem to be that way. I would say I am less opposed to like the subscription model where you have to pay to continue access to play the game. But I definitely, and that's just coming from knowing like what it takes,
From like a server maintenance standpoint.
maintenance standpoint, development standpoint, financial, like all of the above.
Right.
Especially like if they're still constantly developing and stuff.
And
But with that, like if you are doing like a subscription base, like you have to be developing things where people are willing to play.
and that's the problem with like retail World of Warcraft is I think really realistically we just entered a 10 or 12 month content drought. There is nothing new coming in retail World of Warcraft.
And I can see how you wouldn't want to pay a subscription for something like that.
Right.
Makes 100%.
And that's a bit of a lie. They're doing like minor patches and things like that, but like stuff that could be done in a day. Like why would I pay $15 for the month if I'm going to be able to do it in a day? But you know, Blizzard offers other things. They offer, you know, Wrath Classic itself, and then Season of Discovery that came out that has been an absolute smash hit with the community that has revived World of Warcraft's relevance in the gaming sphere. But there's a lot of monetization things that are going on in gaming as a whole, and I see a lot of it through the purview of World of Warcraft that I'm not a fan of. Like, I don't like being locked out of content because I don't pay for premium time in War Thunder. And they say, well, you're not locked out of the content. You'll keep grinding towards it. And I'm like, yeah, maybe in 15 years I'll unlock the next tank because you nerf my research points down to, you know, 0.1% of what I was earning if I had premium time. So it's like, it's predatory in nature.
Yeah. And that's where I definitely agree with that type of the right word, but
Business practice.
yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely predatory, especially to, like,
Don't get me started on loot boxes. Don't get me wrong. I've fallen prey to loot boxes when I was younger. You know, when I was in my early 20s, late teens, right when loot boxes started to become a thing. It is 110% legalized gambling. You cannot convince me otherwise. It is legalized gambling for minors, and it's unacceptable behavior.
but it's so lucrative business, so it's
Yeah, so just everybody looks the other way. But yeah, it's frustrating that these things go on. You know, like another big hit in the gaming community, which is concerning because I feel like it's going to develop a monopoly at some point. Xbox and Microsoft has lost the console war.
really.
For the past 2 generations, PlayStation has outsold Xbox at a 2-to-1 ratio.
I guess like I'm shocked at, like, a part of me is like not surprised, but I just remember how big like the Xbox 360 was when it came out.
It was a game changer when the 360 came out.
I remember like that being the it item for Christmas. I remember my brother like begging.
It's upsetting because there's IPs like Halo, which has just been run into the ground. And I think Halo Infinite was a step in the right direction, but it wasn't a Halo Reach. It wasn't a Halo 3. It wasn't a Halo ODST. You know, because really IPs like Halo carried the franchise. And now I think very soon we will see Halo Infinite on PlayStation. We'll see the next Halo on PlayStation.
I guess, yeah. Where's like the Nintendo Switch at? Like, is that still a thing that people use, or is it?
I would have to look at the numbers, but yeah, the Switch is still prevalent right now.
I feel like people like that because
Yep.
it's like on the go.
Well, I don't think it's so much the on the go-ness. It definitely appeals to children and then, you know, man children as well. But I can't say a lot either because, you know, I grew up playing Pokemon on Game Boy. the Nintendo stands, I feel like, are really what prop Nintendo up, are the people that like don't want to consume any other media than like the same Zelda on repeat, the same Pokemon on repeat. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like frustrating as a whole, that they won't develop new things and new IPs. Like Mario has just infinitely been repeating itself. That's why I think Power World upset so many people. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a straight rip of Pokemon, but it's everything we have wanted in a Pokemon game for the past 15 years that they will not give us.
And that's where I think it's becoming popular, and one, like, it's getting a lot of attention because it's commercial.
Mm-hmm.
But it is something of, there's people who the classic Pokemon don't want to see.
And that's fine. Go back and play Pokemon Red.
But I do think Pokemon, I feel like they want the.
Mm-hmm. I want things to evolve. I want World of Warcraft to evolve. I really do. I genuinely do in my heart of hearts. Like, don't forsake its roots and its story and, you know, class design and the feeling of it. But there needs to be a World of Warcraft 2. They need to burn the old world down and start over. There needs to be new graphics. There needs to be new animations. There needs to be a new design aesthetic. You know, we can't keep relying on people wanting to come back and play classic. You know what I mean?
No, people definitely, and that's something too. As much as like, there's a balance to everything, because people want consistency, but also people want change. Well, they don't want to be bored with the same day in and out. And there is a balance to it.
And that's a very frustrating thing to do, and that's like part of the reason I quit rating. And I hate that this word has become so prevalent. Is everything's a season now. Everything is a season. Every game has a season. Everything's a season. And I'm like, everybody's like, the next season of World of Warcraft. I'm like, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the next patch, or are you talking about the next expansion? They're two different things from each other. What is a season? If it's a patch, say it's a patch. If it's an expansion, say it's an expansion. This seasonal concept is frustrating to me. Because to me, a season is like a season in Formula One, where like, you know, all right, the 2024 season, you know what I mean? Or the 2023 NFL season. Does that make sense? Or do I sound like some rambling boomer?
No, that definitely makes sense.
You know, it's like, but it's like when the next patch comes out, all of my rating equipment is now completely invalidated. Everybody's caught completely up to me as soon as there's no path. So, because it used to be like in vanilla and in Burning Crusade, and to a degree, it was there for a little while in Wrath. That if you wanted to raid, you know, let's say you wanted to raid Naxxramas, you had to go do Molten Core, and then you had to do Onyxia and Blackwing Lair, and then you had to do AQ20, AQ40, and then you could go raid Naxxramas. You couldn't just start the game, hit level cap, and go straight to Naxxramas. There was a raid progression that you had to follow that made sure everybody saw all the content. There's been times that I came back to World of Warcraft, I came into the end of an expansion and I skipped the 3 raids in front of that raid. That was the end of raid expansion. Because there's no need for me, because now I've got catch-up gear. Now I've got Raid Finder. It's inefficient to follow that path, and I understand that, but it's frustrating because it creates this pattern of invalidating your own content.
Mm-hmm.
So it's frustrating. It's just frustrating. So, but I want things to mean things again. I want something, you know, because it used to be, you know, I'm trying to think of an example other than World of Warcraft, but World of Warcraft's the only one that comes to mind right now. You would recognize people based off their armor and their weapons. Because you knew, if you saw a Ret Paladin in full tier 2, you knew there were only a handful of people on the server that probably had that. And you probably knew all of them by name because you'd seen them walking around. If you saw somebody with Thunder Fury back in the day, you'd be like, I know who that guy is. That guy's a legend. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Things don't mean anything anymore. Everything is just completely invalidated. And it's almost invalidated by design by the game developers.
Do you probably gonna sound like a boomer when I say this, and I'm nowhere near a boomer. Um,
We're Zennials, babe. We're Zennials. We know what dial-up is, and we know how a cell phone works.
um, but do you think that part of the changes are due to the mindset that like this kind of coming about that like everyone receives a trophy?
There's a little bit of that. I think that's in it. I am a fan of there was a system in Battlefield where you were rewarded for your contribution to the battles. Even if you didn't get kills, you got support kills. Like if you suppressed an enemy machine gunner and another guy killed him, you got some points for that because you assisted. I'm a fan of if you assisted, you get something for
Oh, I
that.
mean, and absolutely. And even if you look at like, I'll use the Super Bowl that's coming up,
Right.
there are going to be defensive linemen who do not, they never score touchdowns. They will still get a Super
Yep.
Bowl ring if their team wins because they assisted in the win.
Right. And like, but Tarkov is on the opposite end of the spectrum. There's so many times in Tarkov, like when I played with my duo partner Vash, he's just so good at the game. We would run into a 4 or 5 man. I may only get 1 kill. I lit 3 other guys up, but I don't get points for that. I don't get assist off that. The game doesn't count me lowering that guy's health and degrading his armor as anything that contributes to the winning of the fight, other than who scored the killing blow. Does that make sense?
Yes. So you think there's like a balance?
I do think there's a balance. I'm not a fan of welfare gear and welfare mounts and things like that, but I'm also a fan of gear progression. Another example, when Raid Finder came out, I was a fan of it because I'm like, awesome, there's another rung in the ladder to the climb to the top. And that rung has now become an elevator, which I'm not a fan of. The only benefit I see to Raid Finder now is that everybody gets to see the in-game content, even if they have no friends and are not in a guild, which is good and bad. It's good because everybody gets to see, but it's bad because now you've effectively killed your own community, because why is there a reason to form a raid team if I can just jump in a queue into a system that'll queue me up with 24 other random people? It doesn't build connections and bonds. So, and that's what frustrates me. Things like that frustrate me, and that happens a lot in our real life now. Whether that's you used to go to a restaurant, you'd build a connection with the owner of the restaurant before there were chains, or if you went to a local town restaurant. Like my favorite Thai restaurant that me and my dad used to go to and still go to, we became personal friends with the owner, because we ate there all the time. They knew who we were. We knew who they were. But with DoorDash and chain restaurants, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of interconnection between humans that's fallen away, and I think that's driving a lot of societal issues right now.
Also contributing in certain ways to like some of the mental health crises because we're lacking social.
Oh yeah, you were struggling during COVID.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, not having that interconnectability. And in a way, COVID was positive for me because I was a barfly going into COVID and then coming out of COVID. I can't remember the last time I've been in a bar. So it was a positive thing for me, but it wasn't positive for a lot of other people.
Last time you were in a bar was probably...
Was it DC? Yeah, I think it was DC. So last year.
And then before that, I want to
Yep, it would have been New Year's. Yep. So it's like positive and negative. There's a balance between the things, but
well, and it also depends. If whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, you're gonna handle it different ways. But I do believe that even introverts need some degree of social connection and interaction.
it's different. So like I crave social interaction, but it drains my battery. You crave social interaction, but it charges your battery. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, and I know that.
So like I have to take time to recharge. You have to go charge.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I definitely get that. But, but all right. Well, you wanna start wrapping it up? Call it there.
Yeah, I think so.
We're going climbing today, right?
I don't know if I'm gonna have time or not.
Okay, all right. We might not be climbing today, but
yeah, no, it's been hard trying to, with everything going on this week. It's been hard to make time for anything.
Yeah, on the topic of work-life balance between work, fitness, general health, family time, chores, and gaming, how do you find time to do the things you need to do and take time to enjoy things that you want to enjoy?
Yeah. For those listening, drop your answers down in the comments below because right now I have no answer to that other than I am making sure I'm at work.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been there before. But thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. We hope you enjoyed the content because we love making it for you.
If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. We love having you guys and we hope you enjoyed it.
Peace.
Bye.